So I've been spending some time working on the keyframes, and I've established a whole bunch of them, and I'm pretty pleased with the overall result that I've created here. And with the keyframes now done, I can advance on to establishing the timing. If you look closely down here inside of my timeline, let me just stop it here real fast, you can see that I've evenly spaced out all of my keyframes. All of my keyframes are just 5 frames apart. And we don't want to keep it like this because this creates a linear animation where all of the keyframes and poses are evenly spaced in the timeline. This doesn't give us a good sense of weight. It doesn't give us a really great sense of the part of the animation where it's the fastest and slowest. We need to go in and start looking at the timing. And the great thing about working inside of Blender, or any computer animation process that is that we can just move these keyframes around inside of our timeline to get a better understanding of where it's going to be slow and where it's going to be fast. So let's go ahead and start that process. I'm going to stop my animation and I'm going to begin here at the beginning. Now, to help me out, and this is just an organizational thing for me, I'm going to start tagging some of my keyframes with some of our keyframe types. So I'm going to hit the R key, and I'm going to have this one be the extreme one, this guy right there. That way I know that this is the end, and then way out over here, do the same thing, just so we're consistent. So all of the red ones are the extreme pose, right? This is where it's the furthest on the left. This is where it's the furthest on the right. And then this is, once again, a duplicate of frame 1. Okay, so now that I have a good visualization of all of these keyframes and their function inside of the larger structure itself, let's start experimenting with the timing here. And this is where it gets really cool. In my imagination, as I start to plan this out, I think I want to have the movement be real slow at the beginning, and then fast in the middle, and then once again, real slow at the end. That way it makes it feel like the motor is really having to push and then pull this animation. So I want to create the idea that the motor of the engine is really moving slow in here, and then finally it picks up steam, maybe right about here, and then we're going to start to really cook, and then once it gets back down to right about there, this is when it starts to return the other way. So I'm going to change the timing in here. So once again, it's having to lift this entire arm, then whoosh, it's going to go back. So let's start experimenting with that timing. And we're going to do all of this just with the existing keyframes inside of my timeline. I'm just going to select them, drag them around, and start exploring what that timing can be. I want you to remember that we are exploring what that timing can be. It's going to be different for each one of us. My sense of timing is going to be very different than your sense of timing, and that's totally fine and very cool. So explore it. There is no wrong way. But let's start going in and establishing that weight. Okay, since I want it to move real slowly in here, I think what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start spreading out some of these keyframes. The distance they travel is really not that much. So I want to have a lot of in-betweens between this keyframe and that one. So I think what I'm going to do is, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab all of my keyframes. Yeah, and I'm going to scale them. And I'm going to move them. Oops, excuse me. I wanted to have my timeline, or my playhead be on frame 1. And now when I scale it, they're all proportionally move. So I think I want to have 10 frames of movement here. Yeah, let's see what this looks like. Okay, now we got to start making up the time here. This is good. So it's 10 frames. It's going to move really slowly in here. And then once it gets to that keyframe, yeah, from this one forward, I want it to move very fast. So I'm going to zoom out in my timeline, grab all of my keyframes, and now I'm going to scale them back because this is where I want it to move fast. I want it to move very fast in here. So maybe just a couple in-betweens. I may have gone a little too far. Oops. There we go. I've noticed that in my experience, you got to have at least like 2 or 3 in-betweens between the keyframes for the human eye to really understand its movement. So I'm looking, we got 33. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that's a good place to begin. We'll kind of go with that structure for the rest. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This one will go over there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's see what that timing looks like. And let's just, to be consistent, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll put that red one there. Okay, cool. Let's just give it a good look here. I'm going to zoom out. park my playhead at the beginning, shift space to play it. Yeah, I like it. Check it out, because now it's going to go really slow and then woof. Woof. Okay, cool. I'm liking it. That's a good sense of timing. Slow, and then it's going to pick up a lot of speed. Cool. All right, so this is when it needs to start slowing down once again. Between this keyframe and this one is when it needs to start slowing down. So I'm going to grab all of them. And if the scale tool is a great way for us to work. However, if you just want to kind of noodle with it and do it by hand, that's good too. Just grabbing them, moving around, that's a great way of working. Whenever you make a change, play it so you understand the change. Now, my sequence end timing here is frame 70. Let's put this to 150. That way I just have a little bit larger of a palette for me to work with as I start to explore. Yeah, okay, cool. So this is when it really starts to slow down, right in here. And then I want it to start going really fast once again in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. This last one. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Let's just see what we got. So I want to change my sequence end frame to 90. Hit shift space bar to play it. Zoom. 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 I think we can even make it go a little bit faster in there, in the middle. I really like the sense of speed at the beginning and at the end. Yeah, I think we can make it a little bit faster at the beginning. I'm going to grab everything now. Let's see, it's 10 frames. Let's push it down to 8. This one's going to go to 16. There we go. And let's see what it looks like now. Yeah, I'm digging it. This is starting to look a little bit closer to what my vision of this timing is going to be. Now, I think I want to have the timing in the center here be a little bit faster. I'm loving this slow at the beginning, slow, and then vroom, vroom. That's very cool, but I'm going to make it go a little bit faster. It's right in here where the animations start to take off. And here's the keyframe on 27, and then we go to 31. So there's, what, 4 frames? Let's try 3. I want to move that one back to frame 30. This one will move back to 33. Now this one's going to go to 36. And this one's going to go to 39. Let's just see what we get. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I'm liking it. Let's go to frame 42. I'm going to grab all of them now because this is where I want the timing to kind of preserve or be preserved just ever so slightly. Slow, super fast, slow, fast, slow, super fast. Yeah, I'm liking it. This is a good illustration and of how we can adjust the keyframes to very quickly create a wonderful sense of weight and speed and the illusion of gravity inside of our scene itself. We want to have our animations kind of be like a roller coaster ride. There's certain parts that are real slow, but once we get to the top of that first climb, then it's going to be really fast for a bit, and then it's going to slow down and go really fast for a bit. This contrasting sense of speed is going to be understood by our audience, and they're going to start to understand the implied illusion of weight inside of the animation. By having certain times our animations move fast and certain times it moves slow, we create that great illusion of weight and gravity, all thanks to the principle of timing and overlapping action.